Okay, so we'll move to the next slide. Why do we have leadership development? Why leadership development? The first thing is for empowerment and engagement. Okay, so in the course that we're having presently, this is a form of leadership empowerment, okay, and engagement. So this kind of program helps you as a young person to become active agents of change, okay, and they involve you in like community improvement. So when after this set of few days that you're going to be spending on this call, it is expected that you're going to go out, because you should have been given some form of like skill, okay, from this program. So you're not just in this program for being safe, or just to mark attendance, or just to collect a certificate. It's not about the certificate that you're going to be collecting. It's about the skill set that you're going to be getting from this, from this program. So leadership development also helps you to prepare for future roles. I mentioned head boy and head girl the other time. So you see that when someone is a head boy or head girl, somehow, you see that they attain, they look like leaders already. You don't see head boy and head girl being scared, okay? They're leaders. And the people who chose them, the management of the school, would have seen those, traits in them to have made them prefects in the first place. You have health prefects, you have different kind of prefects. They see them, they study them, and they see that these people are fit, to be in this, office, and they choose them. And that's why you give them the respect that you give them as well. And you see that most head boy and head girl, they don't do the things that every other person does, okay? They don't do the things that everybody does. So why do we have to have leadership development? The third thing is skill development. Skill. This kind of program, like I mentioned earlier, is good for essential life skills. It includes decision-making, responsibility, and effective communication. And the last thing here is fostering innovation and change. When you have been taught to be a leader, when you have developed skills and and certain skills and life, let me just say life skills, it helps you. People would see the change, okay, and it will help you change, the narrative in your environment and all. So today we're looking at leadership development for millennials and Gen Zs, and it would be nice for us to know who the millennials are. Thank you for those who responded earlier, who told me that millennials are those born in so age. Someone said, I think Fikayo said, millennials are their parents. So you're very right. Millennials are people from 43 years and below, okay? Those are the millennials. The millennials, also known as Generation, are individuals born between 1981 and 1996. They follow Generation X. So Generation X are the ones before the millennials, and they precede Generation Z, which are your own set of generation. So this generation is characterized by their comfort with digital technology. So it was in the era of the millennials that digital technology actually came to be. I remember when I was in university, there was no mobile phone. I was asking someone when I said, how did we even cope? And I'll tell a friend then that I'm coming to your house tomorrow, and I'll get there tomorrow. And should expect that I will come. And there was no means to communicate. And if there was going to be a change of plans somehow, I don't even know how we did this. Honestly, I can't even begin to imagine how we survived then. For people like you, it will seem like, how did you survive? How did you cope? What we did? When I served, I served in the North. There was a man that had a phone. Okay, there was Nitel then. I know you don't know what Nitel is. So Nitel then was like the phone booth that we had. Okay, so you have a card and you pay money, and then like the way you recharge your phones with cards nowadays is the same way. So you have a card, you slot it in, and then so if you buy like 1,000 naira worth of credit, your card has that 1,000 worth of credit. So when you're making your phone call, once your credit is exhausted, it will cut you off the same way. And we had just one in the whole of, I started Zamfara then. And then so we had another man that had a store, a pharmacy store that had a phone, a land phone. So would book. So my on-call days was Tuesday by 12 noon. So I'll tell my mom, okay, I'll be calling by. So she knows that my timing. So once I miss that timing, then that means I'm not going to be able to speak to her for that day. So the next, imagine you have to wait and queue, to make a phone call. Now it's just at your fingertips. You just call anyhow. You send messages, there's WhatsApp and all that. So the millennials are the people who, were born in, they experienced the birth of the digital transformation. They were not born before it, but they experienced, the transformation of the digital age, okay, because they have grown up during the rise of the internet and social media, and they are often noted for their value on meaningful work, okay. So it is the millennials that started the work-life balance. So those are the millennials. So I'll move forward because of time. Who are the Gen Zs? Who are the Gen Zs? The Gen Zs are referred to as you people born between the year 1996 and 2010. So this generation follows the millennials, and the ones after you, I'm sure you know who they are. So Gen Zs are notable for being the most diverse generation in history. Very diverse. It seems people don't understand the Gen Zs. You keep hearing those Gen Zs, those Gen Zs, those Gen Zs. If anybody says anything on X, which was formerly Twitter, you'd hear, I'm sure it's a Gen Z. It's so those Gen Zs. And it just seems as if there's nothing good to say, so to speak, about the Gen Zs. But that's a big lie. Okay. So the Gen Zs have grown up in a digital world, and their growth is characterized by strong digital nativity. So when it comes to digital space, you find the Gen Zs, they're the ones leading the pack. Climate concerns, so they are more eco-conscious. Okay, so now we have a lot of people talking about waste, recycling and all that. It is, being pioneered now by the Gen Zs. Okay, so our next slide talks about millennials leadership styles. I'm going to just be bordering on this part. So you said that we have here that the millennials leadership style, that they have high general knowledge. They are, they try to solve problems. I mentioned work-life balance then. They don't believe that someone should work, and not have time to enjoy, okay? Unlike, the generation X before them, those ones believe that it had to be money, it had to be work. They believe that hard work is what will earn you a living. But the millennials believe that there should be a balance. Okay, and you can also earn income from your, from your interest. So it doesn't have to be something that you're, working 9 to 5 for to earn a living. So the millennials believe that you can have it all, both, a good job and to have, an interesting life, following your passions and your hobbies. Okay, for millennials, they like teamwork. Okay, they like teamwork. So you know what teamwork is, cooperation is important to them. They are familiar with technology. Remember I said that they were born, they saw the start of internet, they saw the start of technology. So it evolved right in their presence. So they embrace technology and they love to, they love to use it. And they are eager to take advantage of, of the vast opportunities that comes with technology. I wrote sustainability. It is important for them to grow and expand their knowledge. So you see an average millennial having an MBA, a PhD, going for, all of the courses, wanting to earn more degrees, studying harder and all that. They need a higher purpose. So millennials work efficiently if they see deep meaning in the work. Okay, unlike the Gen Ys, okay, who just feel that, look, it has to be work. They don't just want to just work. They want to see that there is a deep meaning in this work that I'm doing. What is the purpose? Why am I doing this work? It's not just to earn a living, okay? And then for millennials, they love to learn and they love people who learn as well. There's a strong emphasis for them on continuous learning and development. So that's the millennial leadership style. We move to the Gen Z leadership style. The Gen Z leadership style is, it's fueled by purpose. Okay, so they have experienced what we call, Gen Z's experienced coronavirus. Okay, that was in 2020. So they experienced coronavirus and they saw recessions, especially for those outside of, like Nigeria, and they aim to fulfill their purpose by living meaningful lives. So they don't just see it as work. Okay, so their own style is purpose driven. It's purpose-driven. What's the purpose? What's the aim? They believe that, look, coronavirus happened and a lot of things changed, okay? The future of work as we know it's changed. Now we have people who work from home. Before, it wasn't the norm. It wasn't the norm. You must appear in the office. But now people effectively work 5 days a week in the comfort of their homes, and that is what this new generation is breeding. That you can be effective. You don't have to be in the office 24/7. So I put here that they have collaborative approach leadership style. They prefer teamwork and value diverse perspectives. So they ask you, what are you bringing to the table? Okay. They don't believe that one cap fits all. That's a Gen Z. One cap doesn't fit all. Okay, so what are you bringing to the table? They like authenticity. They like transparency. Okay, so a Gen Z doesn't want you to call black blue. Okay, so even when you're saying it is black, they want to understand, why is it black? What's the reason? Why is it black? Okay, so you can't just wish a Gen Z away in a discussion. They probe. Okay, they ask you questions, and that's why they say that they're outspoken. They ask you questions. Why is this? Why is that? Why must I do this? Why must that be this way? You understand? Digital natives. So their fluency with technology enables innovative solutions. Okay. So they were born, like the millennials who saw the rise of internet and all that. Gen Zs, when they were born, internet and social media was already in place. So it was something that they embraced. Okay. So it was just natural to them. And I mentioned, okay, I said this before, that purpose-driven leadership is what Gen Z is about, focused on making a positive impact on society and the environment. Can we still hear me? Can we still hear me? So I'm not just talking to myself. Just a quick yes, I can hear you in the chat box. Thank you. Thank you, thank you, thank you. Okay, so we keep moving on. But, yes, but look at what the world thinks Gen Zs are. Look at it, the first and outspoken. If you go on X, which is Twitter, which used to be Twitter, when you see any savage response on X, you would be sure that it is written by a Gen Z. There was a time that some things were trending on X, and when people come out there to talk about things that bother them and all that, the way that Gen Zs would respond, you'd wonder, what happened? What happened to decorum? What happened to empathy? I'm not saying all of Gen Zs, but this is like a very major character trait that we see with Gen Zs. The second one is that they have no fear of quitting. A Gen Z can just wake up tomorrow and say, I'm not working again. And that's it. But a millennial, you think about the children that you have at home. You think about the bills that you want to pay. Gen Zs are not bothered. They can just wake up and say, I'm not working again. Those are the Gen Zs. And, that is not a good character trait for sustainability. Nobody wants to employ someone who will just wake up one day and say, hey, I'm out. Like they say, I'm outside, or we're outside, nobody wants that. Okay. They are ambitious and they can be rude. So a Gen Z naturally doesn't really know how to, communicate. So they're ambitious, yes, they want to do this, they have big dreams, but in conveying those dreams that they have, sometimes they appear rude. I have Gen Zs in my church as well, and those are the things that we talk to them about, how to communicate. Even though you have a strong message you want to pass across, there are better ways to pass across your messages. They think they know what they want, okay? So those are Gen Zs. They think they know what they want. They feel that, you guys, you don't understand. You don't understand. They're always having this, you don't understand. You don't understand. What don't we understand? And then the older generation wants to tell them that, look, we've been here before you, and we know what's up. But the Gen Zs feel like, no, you don't understand. You don't understand. One other thing that, we know Gen Zs for is that they cannot deal with stress like the millennials. The millennials have seen everything. They have seen they were there before internet came, so they had experienced a bit of that. But Gen Zs, no, not at all. Everything for them has to be easy, like the microwave generation. And that's why they always come out to say, my mental health, my mental health. I remember a friend of mine, she works in the hospital in Benin, and she called me one day and she was talking. She said, hey, she said, Kemi, I work in this, this institution that I work in, that there's this lady that, is there in the ward, and she's always, talking, and that they asked her what happened to her. Why is she in the mental ward? And that if I hear the things that they said she went through, she was saying, Kemi, hey, if this girl had gone through half of the things that we went through while growing up, that means she won't even be alive. Because if she cannot handle this little stress and is already, so the Gen Zs, they are always about mental health. Before you know it, they keep saying, oh, it's affecting my mental health. And that's why they quit easily. They want to leave. They want to be out. No, I can't deal. I can't deal. What can they deal with? Okay? They are the least resilient. Like I said, they're prone to anxiety. They're always anxious. They're never settled. Gen Zs are always anxious for the next, for the next thing, what the next thing they want to move on to. Okay. I also put out here that they are lacking in some skills. They are lacking in receiving feedback. So there's nobody who shouldn't receive feedback. Feedback is good for everybody. If you want to, just like budgeting, for instance, you have to take, past forecast, okay, work on it, assess it, so that I can plan for the future. So that's a feedback method. So if a Gen Z doesn't want to take feedback, how are they going to forge ahead? How are they going to make progress? And they also don't know how to listen. They don't know how to listen. They're always in a hurry. They're always wanting to move on to the next thing. So they're really impatient. They're an impatient lot, okay? However, one thing that both of these people have in common, which is the Gen Zs and the Millennials, is a strong belief in social causes and corporate responsibility. And that's why I said responsibility is leadership. You cannot be a leader if you are not going to have one or two forms of responsibility. No one can bestow leadership on anyone that cannot take responsibility. So when I mentioned the head boy and the head girl, it comes with some form of responsibility. Okay, so you can't say, oh, I'm a leader, yet I don't want to be responsible. Oh, I want to be a leader, but I don't want to do anything. I just want to be a leader by name. I don't want to be a leader by actions. You have to lead, you have to be responsible. So thankfully, they both have this in common, social causes and corporate responsibility. Moving to the next slide. So we talked about the Gen Zs, okay, and what they're about, okay? But you know that it's not all gloom and doom. There are so many Gen Zs doing amazing things. So I wrote the first name I put here. If you've heard of these people, it'll be nice. If you haven't heard about them, you can go read about them. There's someone called John Oseni, okay? John Oseni is one of the Gen Zs taking the tech community by storm. He's a Nigerian. So by the name, you know he's a Nigerian. He's 17-year-old and he multitasks. He's a multitasking software and blockchain developer. He started his career in tech in 2021. He was really young. And he started coding at a very tender age, making his parents think that he was possessed at the time. That's John Oseni. But you know who he is today? He's a co-founder of Versus Pay. So it's a solution for payments online. Versus Pay, that's VER. Yes, I think I wrote it there, Versus Pay. He's a Gen Z. So it's not all gloom and doom. The next person I have here is Clinton Imaro. Okay, Clinton Imaro is also a self-taught programmer. A self-taught programmer. It's not easy to be a taught programmer. Talk less of a self-taught programmer. Programming languages, as in 5 programming languages, and blockchain developer. And he began coding at the age of 12. At the age of 12. Just like John, Clinton has gained recognition outside of Africa. He's also active in Nigerian tech community. Clinton works for a few companies and starts based out of Africa. Startups, really, I mean. Clinton is a chief executive officer of AfroWatch. So AfroWatch is like a movie platform, like you have in Netflix and all, okay? A streaming platform for movies for Africa. That's the business that Clinton Imaro is running. The next person I have here is Eniola Osabia. Okay, she's a founder, of Africa's largest Gen Z communities. He is a software engineer And he has a very strong problem-solving ability. Is a type of engineer who takes on the tasks that everyone else in the team is avoiding. Imagine, he's so smart. He takes on the hard jobs. He doesn't take on the simple ones. So when any job is hard, you find Eniola there. He is the co-founder of Frela Pay. It's also a payment platform, okay, for organizations to thrive. They are all still Gen Zs. These people are less than 22. They are less than 22, doing great things. Okay, we're never too young to start something great. So don't think, oh, I'm still young, because I'm actually really grateful that you're on this call. You're on this call because you want to develop your leadership traits. Okay, and it means that you want to, surpass the likes of those people that I've mentioned here. And it's never too late to start. Okay, you can start today. What are your focus? What are your dreams? What are your plans? Okay. I also wrote Malala Yousafzai, sorry. She's a Pakistani. Remember, there was a time that the Pakistani, like a Taliban group then, okay, banned the girls from going to school, girls and women. And she knows that education is very important. Okay. So she started it like a trust fund, like a fund, like a GoFundMe to raise money to help the girls and the women in her country to start going to school, to become educated. And she won a Nobel Laureate Prize, a Nobel Peace Prize that year, I think in 2014, at the age of 17. So she had started the course before she was 17. But at the age of 17, she was recognized and she was given the Nobel Prize for Peace at 17. At 17. I know that on this call, we have some people that are, less than 17 and some older than 17. My question to you is, what have you started pondering on? What solution, what problems are you looking for solutions for? What problems are you seeking solution for? Are you waiting for things to fall on your lap? Or you're going to be throwing yourself out there to say that, you know what, if these people can do it, then I can. So I'm giving examples of male and female. If these people can, then I can. Then I can. Then I can. If there's one thing I want you to take home today, it's to tell yourself that you can. Can we just begin to type, into the chat box, I can. I can. Tell yourself, I can do what I propose to do. Can I begin to see that in the chat box? I can do it. I can. I have the ability. I can do whatever I set my mind to do. I can. Thank you, Faith. Thank you, Rhoda. Yes, you can. Yes, you can. Yes, you can. People who are doing it do not have two heads. Yes, you can, Toyin. Yes, you can, Elliot. Yes, you can, Timilolua. Yes, you can. I'll go back to the chart, to the slide, sorry. So now we're talking about leadership development. And we have the next generation after you. They are called the Generation A, which is known as Generation Alpha. And these are a very interesting set of generation. They are born from the year 2020 to 2024. So I happen to have a Generation Alpha in my house. Then I have a Gen Z in my house. Okay, so I have the two generations, and I see the way that they both behave. So they follow the Generation Z normally and are characterized by being the first to grow up entirely in a digital world. They are surrounded by smartphones and advanced technology from birth. This generation is predicted to be the largest in history. The largest in history. Okay. It's a good thing that we have Generation Alpha. Okay. And so, who are the people that are meant to lead this Generation Alpha? Let me ask us, can you put the answer in the chat box? You know that things go from generation to generation. So if there was a Generation Y and you have Generation Z and Generation Alpha, who do you think should be leading this Generation Alpha? What generation? Let me see your answers in the chat box. Gen Z. Thank you. Thank you, Ismail. Thank you, Faye. Gen Z. Thank you. So I also want to ask, for those of us on this call, looking at the Gen Z and the Millennials, I want to know what category you fall into. So can you type what your generation is? What is your generation? I want to see, what is your generation? Are you Gen Z or Millennials or Gen Alpha? Oh, Faith is Gen Alpha. Great. Great. So more answers, please. More answers. Gen Z, okay. Gen Alpha. Elliot is also Gen Alpha. Gen Alpha, Gen Z. Okay. So we have a mixed, audience. Yes. We have a mixed audience, and that's amazing. Gen Alpha. Gen Z, great. Okay, so let me just go back to the slide because I get to just keep hearing Gen Alpha, Gen Z, Gen Alpha, Gen Z. Okay, so I wrote here, how do you lead the next generation as a Gen Z? Even Gen Alpha, it applies to you because there's a generation coming after you, and I bet that will be called Generation Beta. Because you know what happened? After we had the Generation Z, they had to go back, to the Greek alphabet, Alpha, Beta. And that's why we have Generation Alpha. So after Alpha, there'll be Beta. So the thing is the baton. In a relay race, there's always a passing of the baton. So the baton will be passed eventually from Gen Alpha to the next generation. It was passed from what? From from the boomers, okay? Passed to the millennials, passed from the millennials to the Gen Zs. It will now be passed from the Gen Zs to the Gen Alphas. So the Gen Alphas will also pass the baton to the next generation. So what pattern are you going to be passing to the next generation? Gen Z, what